Many of you would have read this book by Jeffrey Ding on the diffusion and how he analyzed it. When I read it, what I found fascinating was that France out-invented Britain in the first industrial revolution, yet Britain won that race. Britain out-invented US in steel and some other industries. Germany out-invented US in chemistry, yet US won that race. Invention is not equal to impact. And the crucial point that he makes there is the missing layer, the crucial layer between invention and impact is the layer of diffusion, which is how does great invention, great innovation diffuse its way throughout society and not just concentrated in the hands of a few companies, in a few individuals, like it was in France in the first IR or in Britain in the second IR. It was personally insightful for me that it is US which invented the idea of engineering. Britain had better steel makers, Germany had better chemists, but chemical engineers were more in the US. They helped to diffuse it. A second important thing was the connect between demand and supply, applications and innovation. And there was a rapid feedback loop which allowed the diffusion to happen much more. A strongly recommended read because he ends with a prediction on what will happen between US and China in the AI race. I will not tell you his prediction, but do read it. We are again in some kind of a crossroad here. If we let a natural diffusion happen in AI, there is a risk that it may be concentrated in a few countries with few companies. However, we have an opportunity to have AI serve the most, serve everybody by many. Today's discussion would be on the tensions and challenges between these various paths. I want to begin with you, Elizabeth, because the spotlight is on Anthropic for good reasons. As AI capabilities grow, there is this tension between accessibility and safety. How do you think about the trade-offs between openness and control? You have a definitive point of view. And as the global head of beneficial deployments, I remember in our panel yesterday you said it's the most fun job you could imagine, right? What does it mean when stakeholders have different definitions of what beneficial deployment means?
Thanks so much. It's a pleasure to be here with this esteemed crew. First off, what I'd say is I think there's a lot of overall consensus about what does beneficial mean. How are we using AI to accelerate scientific discovery and find new treatments or cures for neglected diseases? How are we improving educational outcomes and bringing every student up to grade level? How are we ensuring that everyone is able to get access to world-class medical care? These are a lot of the things that our CEO, Dario, talked about in his Machines of Loving Grace. And I think we can all agree that these are things that we want to see in the world. The real divergence is oftentimes on the how, not the what. And we firmly believe that beneficial should be defined by local expertise, not by AI companies. The most durable deployments start with the communities they serve. Just this week, we announced a partnership with Pratham, a large Indian NGO known to many of you. They serve 8 million students. They've been working for 30 years in India's most underserved community. They have 10 plus random control trials behind their methodology. They set the pedagogical agenda. Anthropic provides the capability. And this is true of every partnership we engage in. The beneficial deployments team is really focused on how do we help address the highest impact use cases the market alone won't reach in health, in agriculture, and education. And core to actually achieving this mission is making sure that we are helping further open interoperable infrastructure. Anthropic was sort of the father of the Model Context Protocol, recently donated to the Linux Foundation, which lets organizations connect their data and services to AI without vendor lock-in. This is a huge unlock as we think about openness. India's Ministry of Statistics actually just released the first government MCP, letting users of any AI service access authoritative national statistics. That's sovereignty-preserving infrastructure working in the real world. We're also very focused on how do you build technical capacity, not just access, because we believe that's what creates structural change. That's how we've organized our team, where we're really focused on building out teams of applied AI who are working with nonprofits, with global governments, with higher education institutions, to think more creatively about what are the tools they can build on top of our API. And in the same way that we would do that for our enterprise customers, providing these resources based off the impact these organizations can have in the world, rather than the revenue they're driving for us. We see this time and time again with Claude Code 2, where you have organizations like Adalat, another terrific Indian nonprofit that has built on top of our API a new helpline for people who are navigating the justice system here in India, where they can get real-time feedback. With Claude Code, they were able to substantially increase what their engineering team could build and create a pipeline of new things building going forward. So open infrastructure, building capacity, all of these are going to be key.
Thank you. I'll come back to a couple of points there later. Seth, you worked on technology policy across borders. As AI is spreading globally, what are the biggest challenges you see? Specifically, how do national interests and global cooperation fit together in today's world?
Thanks, Shankar. And before I answer that, I would like to thank ORF and Carnegie for being unbelievable partners in all elements of technology thinking around the world, both in terms of thinking through global South issues and also more narrowly for my own parochial interests, the US-India relationship. And so thank you. I'm glad you started with a historical perspective on diffusion and a recognition that invention does not necessarily translate into enduring advantage. What is striking to me, I have the benefit now of reading books because I'm not in government anymore, and also teaching about what I read. And one thing I've thought hard about is this question of diffusion in relationship to national interests, but also diffusion in relationship to the compression of time. What is profoundly interesting and important right now is that there has never been a general purpose technology that has diffused more quickly in a more compressed period of time to more people. And so part of my reaction to much of the current debate and discussion around AI in the world as a historian is one of head scratching. It took 56 years to achieve market penetration of the telegraph, 31 years to achieve market penetration of the telephone, 15 years for the internet, and if you use the same metrics, it's been 3 years for advanced AI in the world. So when we think about this, why is that the case? Everyone frames the concern around fear around concentrated power and a single nation or a couple nations husbanding that power. That has not actually been the case whatsoever over the past 3 years. There are multiple, dozens probably, of incredibly capable models that would outperform last year's model available right now at a relatively low cost. There are multiple companies from multiple countries, including in the Gulf, that are now working very hard to achieve advanced capability. So there's a dynamic commercial competition to push models out. And so what we're seeing is this incredible phenomenon of access to a technology in a compressed period of time on a global scale, unlike anything we've ever witnessed before. Is there a national interest component to it at the frontier, at the edge, at the limited set of capabilities that would concern a nation? Absolutely. Is there legitimate concern around the extraordinary training costs and the infrastructure required for specific models? Absolutely. But on balance, overall, if we all look at the world, almost every region of the world, and we think about distribution costs of getting an advanced AI model around the world, access to that model, the amount of knowledge generated by that that model, we are in an unprecedented period of technology diffusion.
That's really heartening to hear. Fahim, he set up the thing for G42. You work across a range of markets, and some of them face unique challenges. Some of these regions face unique challenges like infrastructure, regulatory frameworks, talent pools. What strategies do you see that are working?
First, I want to pick up on what Seth said and probably take us back to 325 BC, because we pretty much had the same conundrum with Socrates and Plato, where Socrates strongly believed that by advocating the idea of writing, humans are going to degenerate because they would transfer that thought on paper, and it would be an existential threat on humanity. And here we are, 2,300 years later, pretty much looking at AI with the same lens. But since then, humans have evolved. To answer your question, I'm going to kind of focus first on UAE, which I think is a good use case of AI diffusion, because UAE's been at the helm of AI not when the world woke up to it in September 2024 on the back of ChatGPT, but back in 2017. That is when we had the first AI minister of a nation, the first in the world. That's when we had the first AI strategy as a nation, back in 2017, which people don't realize that we've been at this for a long, long time. So the United Arab Emirates has been an absolute sandbox on radical discovery using AI, both fundamental and applied. And since then, there's been a lot of advancements in government services, in medical, in financial, and so on and so forth. G42 has been UAE's national champion on all things AI. And we had a fundamental theory that we ascribe to and still do, which is humanity really failed with the invention of electricity. We failed because there's still 40% of human beings who do not have access to continuous 24 hours of electricity today. It has created the world of developed, developing, underdeveloped. It has really created that divide. So as we, as humanity, move into the age of intelligence, can we afford to have that asymmetric division? Our thesis is not, because it's going to create world disorder and chaos. If that's the case, we really need to advocate for the concept of the intelligence grid, and we're going to fix it this time. And this is something that we had presented at the World Economic Forum back in 2024, getting diffusion, getting adoption across the globe, rather than getting into the crossfires of whether it's in the US or China or just those two nodes. And everything that we have done is based on that principle. We're doing a lot of advanced work in countries in the ASEAN, in India, in Africa. Just recently at the World Economic Forum, we introduced the concept of digital embassies. So this is a way where if nations, countries don't have the power or don't have the capital, based on the capabilities that we are building there in the UAE, they can get on to the age of AI and benefit from inferencing, from research, from compute, and cloud capabilities.
Without the concerns of sovereignty, all of that is taken care of.
With absolute sovereignty, because sovereignty was at the heart of everything that we did when we built UAE. The other aspect that we kind of stumbled upon, but now have developed, is we used AI on the English-Arabic translation and created the world's largest Arabic model called JES. Now, this has empowered 350 million Arabic speakers around the world, especially the youth, to get on to all the advancements on all things AI. And that's when we realized this is really about democratizing technology using the power of AI. So then we developed Nanda, which is a Hindi LLM, and that is now available as an open source. We've done one in Kazakh, and our plan is to do that in Swahili, Bahasa, Urdu, Farsi. That would empower about 4 billion people around our universe here to get on to the age of intelligence, which actually is not even being considered or spoken about in the conversation of all things AI. So that's where really diffusion happens.
Thank you, Fahim. That's a different perspective. And Elizabeth, as I promised, I'll come back to you on this question. How do we create incentive structures through regulations, through norms that reward responsible deployment without stifling innovation?
So at Anthropic, we have this dual mission of both ensuring that AI is developed safely and responsibly, and two, that it's deployed in a way that really benefits all humanity. And so I would argue that safety and responsibility aren't actually in tension with market incentives. In high stakes sectors like finance, like healthcare, we know that institutions won't actually deploy at scale unless there is that trust, there are those guardrails, there are that safety. That's especially true as we think about a lot of the work that we're doing in the nonprofit, government, and higher education sectors. An organization like Adalat that is supporting people as they navigate the justice system want to make sure they can have complete faith in the information they're providing. Same if you're thinking about a chatbot that's supporting people navigating health situations or a teacher assisting students. I really think it's a false dichotomy to say these things are opposed, and we see it time and time again with our customers.
Yeah, that's a great point. As we are learning in India too, without safety, adopters won't trust AI because it's their reputation at risk. So there is a positive correlation between safety and deployment, especially at scale.
Can I just jump in on that? I think it's just not safety, it's about responsible AI at the core. It's responsible and ethical AI. And in that, it's not an add-on, it's not a bolt-on, but responsible needs to be within the operating system of organization models and systems. I think that's key.
Well put. In fact, as we've been working with various large institutions and governments in deploying AI, whether it be in agriculture or livestock or even education, what we're realizing is getting it right the first time takes a lot of effort. A lot of partners have to come together. There's so many unsolved questions, right? So that's why one of the states of India, Maharashtra, it took us 9 months and a whole bunch of partners, many of whom are in the room, to get it right, so that not just Maharashtra government, we also had a good sense that, I think we are good to go. You're better off taking that extra time. But having taken the extra time to achieve it in 9 months, subsequently, Bharat Vistar launched yesterday. Ethiopian Open AgriNet launched a couple of weeks ago. Amul launched last week. The diffusion reduced the compression time, compressed the learning time to 3 months, and then 3 weeks. That's what happens if you can create diffusion pathways. And that's why earlier in the day, a group of us came together and said that we need 100 diffusion pathways to 2030. What these do is they answer a lot of the questions that other adopters have. Somebody has gone down the path, has answered some of these riddles. Can I learn from them? But I have the agency, the choice, autonomy to choose which path I want. Yes. Which is why all of us, as we are crafting these pathways through the jungle, it's important for us to illuminate it for those coming behind so that they're treading on proven pathways to achieve whatever destination they want to reach. In that context, Seth, I want to again provoke you. AI today is extraordinarily concentrated in the hands of a few countries and a few companies. Is this inevitable? Or are there mechanisms for a more equitable distribution and deployment of AI?
You don't have to do much to provoke me. Um, I, I really question the premise fundamentally in any sort of context in which you look broadly at how technology would normally emerge and develop in the world. I think that's really important to say. I also think, given how rapidly fast followers have developed models just beneath frontier capabilities repeatedly over multiple years now, we've seen this pattern repeat itself, with each time there being extreme hand-wringing that the next generation of models is the one that are not going to be caught up to. And every single time someone catches up, and they catch up with less compute in shorter period of time with extraordinarily more capability, that I hate to say there's technological determinism here, but there is technological determinism that whatever framework we have for concern around monopoly and consolidation right now is not going to, in retrospect, be what the phenomenon has been. Now, I think there are deft ways to think about this if you're a nation state trying to think about hedging your risks. The Prime Minister's strategy here in India, I think, is quite wise, almost brilliant, because he's taken a look at the structural realities of the economic situation, the structural realities of where hardware comes from, the structural reality around who's going to provide the most efficient compute right now, and decided he's going to pursue multiple pathways at once. He'll pursue his own sovereign GPU course at reasonable scale to make sure that developers who might not otherwise have access to large-scale models at high compute costs will have access in India. But at the same time, he's partnered in massive ways with the largest AI providers and hyperscalers in the world, US firms, to develop AI simultaneously. And both of those paths will be pursued. They're going to be intended for different audiences, and they're going to hedge risks in different ways in different time horizons. And what's important about that also is we can call it sovereign AI if we want to, but in reality, it's hybrid AI. It's integrated and blended AI. And that's what the future of national AI agendas will have to be.
Could you double click on that? The point about instead of hyper AI, it'll be blended AI. What could you elaborate on that?
Well, look, I mean, there is the approach of a full national AI stack that one could try to pursue. That is not going to work in almost every situation in the world because of how integrated global supply chains are and global knowledge chains are and global talent flows are. There is a model in which one controls the infrastructure but enables a non-national AI provider to generate the capability. There's a model in which the infrastructure and the compute and the model is controlled by a nation, but the outputs are not. And so there's going to be all kinds of different ways in which this operates around the world. The competitive genius of all of this is going to be markets will determine which solutions are best, and they won't be the same in every place. But I don't think the pessimism around being dominated by single large infrastructure compute projects and a few models is going to be the reality.
Can I build on what Seth said? I think what Seth is also trying to say is, as we get into this world, your question was, does power reside in one, two, or a few? I think the validation of tokenization might perhaps evolve into some kind of a blockchain validation where the source of truth is validated amongst many. So perhaps that's a concept that we need to look at as we look at tokenization of AI and agentic tokenization as well.
Okay. As we draw close to the end of this panel discussion, I want to go back to what this summit is all about. It's the AI Impact Summit and impact on people, planet, and progress. There's a very ambitious and inclusive goal that AI should impact all, welfare for all, happiness for all. And hidden in that is a clear assumption that we are stronger together, We are stronger if we collaborate with each other in ways that serve our national interests. As part of that, if you project, and this is a question to all three of you, as you project over the next 5 years, as you see the world ahead, what does global cooperation look like to you? What are the minimum conditions needed for global cooperation? Anybody?
Seth, you want to take that first?
I mean, global cooperation will be a recognition that relying, at least in parts of a national AI stack, on another country or another country's companies does not represent a threat in almost any situation. I think that's important in the context of the rubric of sovereign AI. I think there is going to be a recognition that there are endpoints, though, to cooperation. We should not have some sort of illusion that there's going to be global AI cooperation. I think it's very unlikely that the United States and China create something like blended integrated AI stacks. I think that's not going out on a limb to say. And then the question is for everyone else, who brings the best capability at the lowest cost with the most trusted networks, the most trusted infrastructure that actually embeds safety in their AI models, doesn't just say they're embedding that safety, and then delivers those products to citizens.
Fahim, and then.
I think our thesis still holds. It's not to make the same mistakes again, like electricity. So it's the intelligence grid, leave no one behind, make sure the AI infrastructure is available for all, because you need that velocity, you need that diffusion to happen across the world. And similar to the language concept that we said, it is also important to get new knowledge into our thinking ecosystem, which has an innate English frame bias. So with more languages coming in, more cultural context coming in, it'll advance on sciences, on fundamental AI applications, on physics, chemistry, and biology that is so required for both people and planet.
Thank you. Elizabeth?
I would echo that. I think it's going to be absolutely fundamental that we make sure that all of the models are improving their performance in local languages, reflecting local context, so they're actually able to benefit folks across the globe. And I think this gets back to the question of what is the role of the different actors in this space. Data sets in different languages, evaluations to see how models are performing in health or in agriculture like we're doing with Karya. Those are fundamental public goods where there's a role to play for the philanthropic sector in funding this work, for the hyperscalers in contributing, for anyone in picking up and using this. And these are going to be key unlocks and a key coordination that I hope to see.
Wonderful. As the old Chinese saying goes, may you live in interesting times. I think the next 5 years will be some of the most interesting 5 years we would ever had. Maybe if you meet back in 5 years, we'll see how it goes. But I'm really looking forward to this year in particular, where we should make a great deal of progress in the potential of AI turning into real impact. And many countries will try different things. We'll all learn from it. And hopefully, as a result of that, we'll make some impact on people, planet, and progress. With that, thank you, everybody. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, everybody, for a patient listening. Thank you.